The Eight of Discs is known as prudence. It's a word we don't necessarily use in everyday language. It could be described as somebody being careful in how they make decisions, perhaps quite frugal in spending money or investing, avoiding unnecessary risks, that sort of thing. And yet this is actually quite a simple card, very straightforward. The Rider-Waite card shows a character actually creating and crafting the discs, and they are also hanging them upon the tree as if to show them off, to say, this is the fruit of my labour and I'm proud to show what I've actually created. And that's actually what we will see a lot in this card. It shows up with readings to do with hobbies and interests and passions that one may have. And on the Tree of Life, it's Hod, and so we actually see that yet again. We've described Hod before as being the sphere in which the magician actually works in terms of magic, or the workshop where somebody would actually build something. And so it's to do with how form in the world is turned into different aspects of which we can distinguish between each other. So it's like we want to get across a concept, an idea, and we take the clay of the earth and form it into a symbol or a shape or an idol, and say this represents whatever it may be. And so when we pick it up, we understand in our own consciousness what it means. And so this may be how certain concepts could have been communicated even without language, such as in the Neolithic, the first farmers. They would create quite primitive tools, hand axes and so on, and they may be able to communicate their use to other people just by the shape of the actual item it can fit in your hand, for example, or by showing how it is used. And it's a learning process in that regard. We actually see that agricultural element coming up with the astrological elements of this card. It's the sun in Virgo, and so obviously the sun actually allows crops and the world around us and trees to grow. And of course the card itself shows a tree of which is in a obviously constant state of growth. And when that sun is mixed with the energy of Virgo, it energizes it even more, that hard work. And so it really is like getting up at the crack of dawn, to go and follow the plough, or to actually build the plough and communicate its use to the farmer. This is how you plant seeds of which of course in time will grow. And if we have a look at the actual tree, the leaves are firstly curled around the flowers of it, and so they're actually protective of it, which is a way of acting in prudence as well, and also making sure that it's not damaged and that it has time to grow, because this looks like quite a large tree. It's like when we see those huge, great big ancient trees, and they're fascinating because of their age. They've survived throughout all of these things of which in our world we see as conflicts and disasters and changing political moods and cultures, and yet this tree is still there and its branches still continue to grow. Therefore it may show us something of the wonder of the actual world. Now the discs themselves, of which of course are the flower of this tree, are actually comprised out of 5 sections of fruit, or the pollen in the middle, and 5 flowers around the outside. And so it's a total balance, and it also represents the number 10 if we add the 2 5s together, of which brings us to the Sephiroth of Malkuth, which is kingdom and the physical world. And so it's showing in a symbolic way that the tree is actually literally rooted into the actual physical world. It grows from its connection with the earth, and people love that, connecting with the earth. We have spiritual grounding, walking barefoot, that sort of thing. And so it represents those things around us that we can touch and that we say are manifested into this world. There's more to that as well with the number 5, of course. It's those 5 physical senses, and so if we interact with the tree on a physical level, we touch it, we can perhaps smell the flowers from it, and we can taste of the fruits, we can hear the wind rustling in the leaves, and when we see all these things we know that it's quite wonderful. We're taken back by these fantastic sights of the wonder of the earth. More metaphysically, however, this number 5 is the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, of which is the letter He. Now, the letter He is referred to as the divine breath, and so we may see this in the Bible and in other religious passages, such as by the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and so these things are literally spoken into existence. In the beginning was the word, that sort of thing. And also by the use of the word, we are communicating a symbol. We communicate with each other via speech and language, and when we say a word, it is just like we saw with Hod there at the beginning of the card, communicating concepts of which would be very difficult without language. So if I said the word book, you can understand the English word book and you can imagine one in your mind, but trying to explain it without the use of language would of course take a lot longer, and so on. And so it's the divine breath, the idea that by speaking out the word we can communicate its meaning instantly to one another. Now, even further than that, with this letter He, in the actual Hebrew alphabet, the letter He can be used as a suffix at the end of a noun, and by doing that it feminizes the noun and therefore allows it to be reproductive. And so what this means in terms of the card and the tree upon it is that it is of course fertile. It actually gives birth to its fruits, and it in itself is sustained by a great mother, if you like, of the earth itself, and so it's all interdependent and interconnected with itself. And by all that, it of course grows. The actual trunk grows, and each year the flowers grow, and as one grows, so does the other, so you get more flowers, and so on. This, however, would happen very slowly, and so that's why we have them protected, so that it doesn't get damaged. And this is a symbol for protecting that of which means something to us in our world, and to understand that they don't necessarily come overnight. This is something of course a lot of people struggle with, and since it's a discs card, in terms of financial success, people just obviously want to win the lottery, and all the money comes at one go, as if like every penny you're ever going to earn is just going to arrive tomorrow morning. It's probably not going to. It's not impossible. It could happen, but it probably won't. And Crowley actually describes this in the Book of Thoth, in that there is a great strength in doing nothing at all. And what he means by that, it's not saying that you can just laze about and not do anything, but he's saying that one sows the seeds, like we saw with that agricultural connection, and then you have to allow it to start to grow. You plant your seeds and you don't actually see the result of them until the harvest time. So it's saying be patient. You wouldn't keep coming to the field and prodding and knocking against the crops and saying, come on, when are you going to grow? You understand that it takes its set time to actually show up, and so that's what the card could be saying to you. It could be saying, you need to have that patience and that time to awaken to whatever you do. If it's about one of your passions in life, a hobby, something you want to do, somewhere you want to go, you may have to work up to that, such as that the greatest journey starts with one footstep, and all these type of metaphors that we see. You have to work up to it, and it's not a race. It will take time, and you have to go at the time that's right for you. And so it's saying, really, keep at it and allow it to grow naturally. You start off with the very first farmers, of whom just witness that the trees grow and sees that flowers grow out of the earth, and eventually is planting seeds and making the plough, and now we have all this great big farm machinery and so on that's been engineered specifically for it. It all started with that single step, that single awareness, a concept of which was communicated to us by our senses or by a symbol, and we got a passion, we got an idea, and we have to keep working at it, and we have to stick with it to make it grow fruit in our lives.